Zidane Danny, Electro Ninja here, and welcome back to Electro Ninja's Lab. In today's video, we are going to be talking about My Hero Academia, episode 68, which is still within volume 15 of the manga, and it takes up about a third of the volume. This is what I'm holding right now is the actual pages that this episode took place over. A few things of note is that this episode did add a little bit more to the story of what happened. A little bit of extra stuff talking with the girls actually seeing the fight a lot better, I personally believe. But of course, the main part of it, as we all knew it was going to be, is that it's specifically about Red Riot and his first battle against, well, villains, which is really awesome in my opinion. I think that the animation actually makes these scenes stand out a lot better. I do have to say, though, that I'm kind of surprised that they actually introduced something that shows up later in the manga at the end of the fight in this, well, in the actual episode. In the actual episode, they have a scene right after he. So in the manga, he just thanks the people for saying that he's a true hero. But in the manga, they actually introduce something that is going to be seen later in the series with how he and Pinky actually know each other, which honestly, I'm really excited to see how they animate that whole scene because honestly, Pinky and Kirishima's story arc is actually really impressive, and I really hope we get to see more of that soon. Now, obviously, the episode ends with them preparing to go off on their next adventure, which is going to be a lot of fun, let's be honest. And we will actually be going into the full episode next time, or the full arc next time. These past few episodes have basically just been prep for the actual battle. So, I personally really enjoyed this. I hope that you guys did as well. One thing that I always mention when I'm talking about this, though, is that Ryoko. Wait, what's her? I need to make sure I'm saying her name correctly. Yeah, Roku, the Dragoon hero. Her costume annoys me. Like, yes, it's dark red, but it's still like an odd costume choice because her outfit is actually extremely bright, all things considered. And as a Dragoon hero, you don't really want bright clothes as a Dragoon. Well, yes, Dragoons and Dragons are two completely different things. She chose to go with the Dragoon hero name, so she really shouldn't be going with a red outfit. And yeah, the color scheme just bothers me with her. But that's the only thing that I really have to say. I have a complaint about this episode. So that's cool. I also have to say that I rather do enjoy the way that they actually framed the conversation with Shigaraki and Overhaul. While in the manga, they just go through the talk really quickly, and then it immediately goes into meeting up with Fat Gum, or the whole conversation with Fat Gum in the fight. They actually integrate these two things together to make it seem like they're actually talking about an incident that just occurred. Which honestly feels a lot better in my opinion, even though they aren't actually talking about the scene in this manga, but rather the scene in last volume when they stole Mr. Compress's power. So that was an interesting thing. Another thing that is actually really interesting is that in the manga, they actually don't go too in depth with Fat Gum's backstory. Let me read the exact line. He does mention that he has dealt with stuff in the past. So Fat Gum in the manga specifically says, "I used to work with the cops, and we seized plenty of this stuff back in the day," which is specifically talking about the enhancing drug. Now, it's kind of an interesting thing to mention because they actually bring a bit more attention to this in the episode, which actually leads me to think that this is more leaning towards the fact that Fat Gum shows up in Vigilantes, which is actually a really interesting story, needless to say, but it's honestly a lot of fun that they're actually going more towards this, because the enhancing drug most likely is Trigger, which, if that's the case, then that means that Trigger is still on the streets, and the Vigilantes don't actually completely get it off the street by the time that we're in here in My Hero Academia. They do get most of it, but it is still out there, which is an important thing to keep in mind. So it's definitely something that is at least something that we should be thinking about. But if they are going to be hinting more and more towards Vigilantes, which they actually do hint a bit towards it in the movie, then that could mean that Vigilantes will be getting its own anime adaptation before too long. I've said before that Vigilantes actually has a scene in it where where the students are actually talking about the Vigilantes. Aizawa Sensei is telling them about what he's done with the Vigilantes, and that could actually be implemented into the actual anime of My Hero Academia, so that we can actually know that Vigilantes will be happening very soon. So, yeah. Honestly, it's unclear right now, but it's definitely something to actually think about in the future. So, yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this episode of My Hero Academia. And, of course, if you guys are ready for the next episode, let me know. If you guys have any theories about anything that I've talked about on this channel, then make sure to comment down below, #theory_review with your theory. And, of course, if you enjoyed this video, please leave a like, subscribe if you're new, and ring that notification bell. And if you want to support the channel even more, then definitely head down to the description and check out my merch store and my book. But anyways, guys, I've been Electro Ninja, and I will see you guys next time. But on.